Hello and welcome to another wonderful time on the issues. This is the time for us to look at issues as it's happening, bringing you a different perspective of the issues. But how many issues are we talking about today? Just keep your fingers crossed. We will begin from Nigeria here. If time permits us, we'll look at other issues. But there is an issue on ground. I'll tell you what the issue is. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo, and once again, welcome to Issues. Now, have you heard about the saga? Should I call it petroleum industry battle, or I should call it petrol battlefield, or I should call it Dangote Farouk saga? Well, whichever name you give it, it is in order. But then, have you heard that President and Chief Executive of Dangote Industries Limited, Aliko Dangote, has expanded his allegations against the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, that is NMDPRA. I'm talking about Farouk Ahmed, and he's been accused of spending millions of dollars on his children's foreign education, not in Nigeria here. And of course, Mr. Dangote has claimed that Mr. Ahmed was living beyond his legitimate means, claiming that 4 of his children attend secondary schools in Switzerland at costs running into several million of dollars. My God. That is not the end. He also said such expenditure raised serious question about potential conflict of interest and the integrity of regulatory oversight in the downstream petroleum sector. Now, according to him, the estimated secondary education, the annual tuition, air ticket, and upkeep per child cost $200,000, totaling $800,000 for 4 of the children, as has been alleged. He also added that the total living expenses per child for 6 years is estimated at $1.2 million, amounting to $4.8 million for 4 children. The approximate total fee for tuition and upkeep, according to Dangote, is $5 million. He claimed. That's the claim until further investigation is being done. And of course, he didn't just stop there. Mr. Dangote also alleged that Mr. Ahmed spent $2 million on tertiary education for 4 years for his 4 children, adding that $210,000 was spent on Faisal's 2025 Harvard's MBA, meaning one of the child by the name Faisal attended Harvard to bag what we call MBA, that is Master in Business Administration, and that is the tuition, upkeep, etiquette, and other expenses for tertiary education is approximately $125,000 per annum by 4 years. That is $5 million multiplied by 4 children. $500,000, I beg your pardon, multiplied by 4 children. That is $2 million. Oh my God. According to him, Mr. Faisal just finished the 2025 Harvard MBA at $150,000 and of course dollars and $60,000 for upkeep, ticket, and other incidentals, totaling $210,000 being spent in 2025. That's just this year. That dollar, I don't know. I don't want to tell you how much dollar was, but then all these are allegations, and I must establish that because he has actually said, well, what you need to do is just submit yourself to the anti-graft agency so that all of this can be investigated. And on Monday, just Monday, in a statement that was signed, Mr. Dangote further alleged that Mr. Ahmed spent over $5 million in tuition fee for his children's secondary education in Switzerland. And of course, he listed the name of the children. He was trying to bring out facts, probably, and he said one is Faisal Farouk Montres School. That's the name of the school. He also talked about Farouk Jr. That's the name of one of the child again, and that one is in Algon College. And of course, Ashrat Farouk Institute Le Rose, that's the name of the school where the child is. What an investigation. How did it come about all of these? I don't know. But then another child, the fourth child, is Fahana Farouk. That one is attending La Jerin International School. He noted also that the four children spent 6 years each in the school. And of course, this is what has been spent so far. This is an issue. Everywhere in the social media, in the media, everywhere is agog. People are talking about it. And do you know that Farouk just resigned? Some people are saying that's not the end. Resignation is not just the end, that it needs to be investigated. But we don't know. We are still waiting. There is no official arrest that has been made yet. Probably the anti-graft agency are still looking into this matter. This is the issue we will be talking about today, and I have two great analysts joining me on the conversation today. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, I will introduce my guest, and we get talking about this serious and big issue, in quote. We'll return after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back from that break. Let's go into the conversation. Well, we have Professor Ibrahim Abubakar live in the studio here, a security expert and a public affairs analyst right in the studio here, who is joining us on the conversation right now. As a matter of fact, so many things are going on. Of course, Dangote versus Farouk is the discussion for today. As a matter of fact, let's get into the conversation. Let's introduce the guest joining us on the program today. The second guest will join us in Giffey. It's good to have you, Prof, in the studio.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you for joining us on the issues. Well, there is an issue. You heard the introduction that I did just now, talking about the issue. The second guest will join us any moment from now. And of course, as soon as he comes in, he will join us on the program. Now, let's get started with all of these. First of all, what do you think about public office holders in Nigeria as a security expert? Do you think there is supposed to be some form of monitoring and supervision on how they spend what they earn?
Oh, well, on this issue about Dangote or Farouk, the questions I have asked is, why always Farouks? From Farouk Umar, who was the honorable in the House of Rep and was the chairman of the investigating panel on petroleum distribution and the rest, has just been granted amnesty by the president on the same issue of oil, and now Farouk Ahmed. Dr. Farouk, who is the executive secretary or the chief executive of the Medium and Downstream Regulatory Authority, and the so-called alleged subject of today by Aliko Dangote is something we have to look at. Is the authority telling us that he cannot account for his office or his tenure of office? Is he having an issue with accountability? Must you pay fees of your children from your salary alone? Was there any architectural profiling that we are not aware of? I use myself for an example. I've worked for Nigeria in several means, and I have not collected any salary or any allowance any day. Has that stopped me from taking care of my family? So when you want to go further, I want us to rail it out today so that Dangote too should be put on his toes. Because I find it difficult for people to be granted Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, and they are not substance for such titles like Aliko Dangote has just alleged. Aliko should know that he ripped Nigeria dry during his tenure in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. They hype the stock exchange, they hype the Nigerian Stock Exchange to a portion and make all the money to themselves and collapse stocks overnight. Himself, Femi Otodola, Tony Elumelu, and the rest did all that. Nigeria has not held them responsible for doing that. They are supposed to account for it. And let's work the index, because the way it is going, Dangote has to explain to Nigerians how he become a billionaire. Where and what has he done that makes him a billionaire today? I will have to go into forensic profiling, forensic editing, human tracking, business orientation. The problem I have is security-wise, we have not know what is called business and economic security. If we know that people like Aliko Dangote will not talk. He forgot that sometimes ago he was Aliko Dantata. Today is Aliko Dangote. So he shouldn't hide under any umbrella, because he just finished a phase 1 of the refinery project, entering the phase 2, and the issues he has with his monopoly. He has with the medium and downstream sector is monopoly. And he has been doing this monopoly thing for several years, and they have been giving him a gap. But then, people are already aware. The awareness level is very high today. It is, people are not limited to informations. Communication is on the wider line. So, if we are looking at these indices, it has a lot of explanation to make to Nigerians. It's not just coming out to say he's the richest man in Africa. It's to tell us how he built these riches. He owes us a duty to tell us how he built these riches. It is not miracle. What was his portfolio? What geared up the stock market during his tenure? And why did the stock market collapse? Who did he account for? Where is Ndidi Oyekwere? Because he's ready to play dirty, and there are people who are set out to play dirty with him. The challenges I have is that a lot of people discuss things they are not supposed to discuss. People, because the security is laid back, so it is for the money bags. So somebody like Dangote is larger than life, or larger than the law, or immune to the law. So nobody touches them because they have the backings of some people in the high places. And this is not a society where you have to say you have some people in the high places and you are going to stay and rubbish the whole society for your own personal gains. I think Nigeria has outgrown that stage.
But then, is there any need, all right, to monitor and supervise how public office holders live their life? Is it proper?
Yeah, that is why we have, if you go to Farouk office, you have a dispatch of the State Security Service and the police. Why are these details there? They are supposed to write a daily report to the security agencies, the agencies they represent. So has these people written any report indicting Farouk? Those reports are not being made. That is why I said most of the time we lack the apparatus to go down the line and do some of these things we are supposed to do. But it's one thing to allege, because I want to take the subject matters of somebody like Andrew Yakubu, who they said they saw some chunk of money in his farms in Kaduna, and at the end of the day, he was discharged and acquitted because there was no money missing during his tenure in NNPC. We would continue to do that and wash our dirty linings to the foreign bodies that are against us. If at the end of the day, they invite the anti-graft agencies and they find nothing worthy on the part of Farouk, what do we do? Because this is not a case of I, Dangote, gave him bribe, and this is how I gave him the bribe. Or this he requested for bribe, and I gave it to him.
But Dangote was very sure when he was saying, he even talked about, if you listen to his press statement, he even talked about coming up with evidences.
I have children who school outside this country. So are you saying that maybe because I earn 50,000 naira, they want to probe me on how I pay their fees? Is that what they will ask me? That I earn 50,000 naira, so how do I pay their fees? He's holding a portfolio. Is the portfolio, is he the chief accountant of that office?
But do you know how much we're talking about here? $500 million.
It's not $500 million. They say 5 million US.
$5 million US, I beg your
So
pardon.
if you say 5 million US dollars, and I have a portfolio that some years ago was an investment of 1 million, when 1 million was just not up to 1 million naira. And that investment has clicked into what it is today. What will you think about that? What if I have made some designs, I have designed things for the world that has nothing to do with the offices I work? Would that now mean that my salary is a match with the designs I have made as an engineer, as a professor? So will you now say because of my salary, my intellectual properties are not in use? And where have we limited ourselves to when they said a civil servant can have shares in capital, in firms? I can buy shares. Farouk can buy shares and make money out of shares. You have every right to also have bonds. So it's not just, it's only somebody who is saying, I am working on salary and I am limited to my salary.
All right.
I have a property in Lagos that the whole building did not cost me up to 30,000 naira. Today they are pricing it for almost $1 billion. So will somebody now talk of 30,000 naira that earned me that property before?
All right, Prof. Let's go on a quick break. When we return from this break, we'll go ahead with the conversation.
Very good evening and welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk. Tonight on the program,
as always, it's a pleasure to have you join us here on Global Morning. I am Uyi Alpo.
You know how we do it on Social Post Extra, bringing you all the...
On the desk this evening, we have very topical issues to discuss. And of course...
Welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament.
Peaceful and joyful home doesn't happen by chance. It is built on...
Men can rise beyond traditional boundaries to claim their rightful place as
a numerous committee, about more than 12 committees.
Festival is a program that comes to you once in a week at about this time, where we'll look into issues and discuss them. It gives you the opportunity to
world leaders in United
Welcome
Nigeria
to Entertainment Circle. And trust me, today you're about to get entertained.
Hello everyone and welcome to the program Talk Sports here on Global Television.
Talk Zone is that platform where we bring young and talented artists.
Stay tuned, stay inspired, stay with Global Television on DSTV Channel 365, on Star Times Channel 276.
Welcome back from that break. Well, our second guest is right here in the person of Ikenga Prince Ezemo. It's good to join us on the program.
Thank you. I'm sorry for coming late. It's part of exigencies of living in Abuja and living in this time of our economy. Good evening, Nigerians. Thank you.
Welcome to the program. Yes, we're looking at the Dangote and Farouk issue, the saga. I don't know what to call it right now. We've already gone through the introduction. And of course, you know the story quite well. Prof have established some school of thought, his own perspective, to the issue. The issue of corruption. This is an allegation, and we can call it an accusation. But then, a lot of people have said so many things about it. What's your perspective of the whole story? What do you think? What's in your mind?
Well, a lot of things have been going on in my mind when Alhaji Aliko Dangote raised that those allegations. And that tells you the depth of corruption, systemic corruption that we have in Nigeria. It is very systemic. And again, one will begin to ask, why is Alhaji Dangote raising those allegations now? Because Nigerians are good. When issues come up, they begin to dig out a lot of things. So Nigerians have been able to establish the fact that Alhaji Dangote and Farouk have been friends. So at what point did he actually notice that his children have been schooling in Ivy schools abroad? And again, I want to thank even the Farouk of a man for resigning. These days I discovered that once you lay allegation on politicians, they resign. You remember the case of former Minister of Science and Tech from Enugu. Immediately the issue of his forged certificates came up. He summarized himself and ran away. This other one, Farouk has also done that. It is now left for the Nigerian state to deeply look into this matter if we are serious in fighting corruption. Because what Alhaji is talking about, how can you be a kind of civil servant or public servant and you have your children, all of them, in the best of schools across the world? And Alhaji Dangote started by saying that his salary does not correspond with the kind of money he is spending on his children. And remember that he's just talking about the children. Maybe that is what he can lay his hands on at the moment. So this is what is happening, I can tell you, across board, along our public sector, servants, our politicians and all that. The corruption is too deep. And in fact, a whole lot needs to be done for us to get to something close to normal.
But then, looking at this situation now, the way it is, Aliko Dangote is, do you think what he's saying can be possible? Because some people like Prof have said, well, he himself also needs to be questioned to an extent. How did he make his own money too?
I remember in this your studio, I once said that. I completely agree with you. You see, the fact that he wants to do in oil sector what he did in cement industry, I am very scared of it. Forget the semantics, forget the rhetorics and all that. I know the refinery he built, thanks to him, but we know he's not the only person, who owned that refinery. No doubt about that, because somebody has sometimes said that a lot of Nigerian politicians that are all hiding behind him and stuff like that. Like you said, Prof said, how did he arrive at being the richest man in Africa and one of the richest in the world? I know he's a man who had worked hard, no doubt about that, but if the federal government had not kicked the frog, when you kick the frog, you are giving the frog lift. So if the federal government had not, over time, not this particular federal government, I think from General Obasanjo's time, remember how they had to bring down eBay to cement for Dangote cement to rise. So from that time till today, they have been giving all sorts of concession and all that, and made him to monopolize a lot of a couple of sectors of the economy. And now he wants to monopolize the oil sector. If that happens, it may look good now. The sounds may be good now. But if Nigerian state should allow such monopoly to take place, I tell you, in future, it will be hard on Nigerians, because he will practically be dictating the direction of Nigerian economy, and it is not good for a nation.
Oh, all right. Let me get to Prof now. Prof, let's look at something, because the resignation, all right, his resignation now. What do you think about his resignation? Don't you think that will make Nigerians feel, yes, he did it?
No. Normally, in a civilized society, resignation is the best option, so that you can go back clean and defend yourself. So that is the best option. He can come back. But the best option is to resign, build yourself, your template of defense, defend yourself to come back with a clean bill. The clean bill does not mean you have to come back to that office. But the clean bill is that you have been cleared out of that issues. So when we have such issues, the best thing he did, yes, he resigned. Then he wait for probity. And by probity, he comes out cleanly. Very clean slate. But that has not exonerated Aliko Dangote, who we know some years ago as Aliko Dantata, now Aliko Dangote. So he's a master of forgery, and we will continue to look at the forgeries as they unfold.
But don't you think this is an allegation?
Let him take me to court. I am ready for him.
Okay. All right. But as it is right now, okay, this resignation, all right, a lot of people are saying that will make it feel like he's consenting. And Aliko Dangote have said the schools, all right, if there is need for him, he can even sue the schools to publish how much he has really spent. But don't you think this is homologous?
We are just even beating around the bush. Why schools? Why the children? Why not you bring an allegation of, I gave Farouk so amount of money, or so person. You remember, in 1984, somebody like Abdul Ali, who was a governor, was jailed for paying the daughter's school fees in UK. How much? So let's forget that money came from Bender State Kofan. But this one, we are saying that he is managing an organization. Is there any money missing in the books of that organization? Is there money missing? Or are we going to play the same rule we played during Andrew Yakubu, who was arrested, kept in detention in EFCC, and the money was returned back to him at the end of the day because there was no money missing in NNPC? Is that the rule we are going to play again? Or we are going to, and then bring our reputation in the international face that we are country or society of particular concern because we have corruption indices? Are these children supposed to go to school? Do they have a right to education? Was the money stolen? We want him to prove that that money was stolen from the coffer of where he works. That is what we want Dangote to prove. Not just telling us that he's paying 5 million or so and he knows the schools and the rest. He should tell us that Please, I want monopoly of the supply of products to Nigeria. Nobody should come to that market. He shouldn't use Farouk as a yardstick, which is co-travelers, because it's not only the one. Dangote just went to collect money from Kofa Holdings UK Limited, using a proxy in the presidency. They should mention that proxy. The denial of some certain levels of the second phase of his refinery is what is bringing Farouk into this. Let him come out plain that he has been denied some proposals he has made that did not go well with Farouk. That is what is bringing Farouk.
But do you have evidences to this?
That is why I said it should
the
come
proposals
up.
you're talking about.
It should come up.
But what proposal are you talking about now, so that our viewers can be clear about it?
The proposal that he is doing the second phase, no supervision of the second phase. 1, no authorization for some arms of the second phase. 2, no external supply of oil to Nigeria to Nigerian use except through him. 3, there is no longer any other person that must be licensed to build whether modulars or structures refineries.
Okay, Dangote have said that no any other person should be allowed to build refineries. But there are people who have licenses even before him.
Whether you have licenses before him, haven't you getting a right of occupancy in Abuja and your land is revoked? So hasn't that happened? Just for one subject issue to be revoked, he is saying they should revoke all those licenses.
Okay, they should revoke the licenses of people who already have this license.
That is his proposal.
All right, let me get to Prince right here. Well, Prince, you heard what Prop said. Let's say the truth now. Public office holders, all right? Let's look at public office holders. One of the things that Dangote is saying is that, well, the salary of this man put together cannot afford this, all right? And it's even far more. He even went as far as saying what the salary, what is supposed to be within a year annually, and what has been spent. We're talking about a humongous amount, millions of dollars here. What do you think about that? Can we now say there is because he said in the press briefing that he had in Lagos there at the Dangote Holdings, he said, well, all his life he's been a public servant. So how come? Do you think anything is fishy here?
Certainly, a lot of things are fishy. Look, Nigeria, like Prof mentioned something now, Nigeria indeed is a country of particular concern. There's no two ways. Remember, there's a minister, serving minister in this government, who all his life has been a public servant. He was a local government chairman, minister of state, governor, and now a minister. All his life, he left university and became a public servant. And you see the kind of wealth he displayed. And when a TV presenter asked him, how come you bought a Rolls Royce? He said, yes, my father was a manager of several companies at the same time. So, indeed, Nigeria is a country of particular concern when it comes to corruption. Truth be told, I am not a fan of Alhaji Aliko Dangote because, like Prof rightly said, he is simply moving towards monopolizing the oil sector in Nigeria. And that would be very dangerous for this nation. No doubt about that. But then, the issue he is raising, as long as this matter is concerned, it is also very pertinent. See, you can't be a public servant all your life and your children are schooling in Ivy schools across the world that you cannot afford going by your salary. These are issues. So we need to treat those issues on their own merits. Well, if we finish with Prof, with Alhaji Farouk, we now begin to also discuss Alhaji Dangote. The Nigerian government should not, for whatever reason, allow him to monopolize the oil sector. We cannot go that route. It will destroy Nigeria. it will. I mean, look at what is happening. When I was a small child, I know how much people buy a bag of cement until he came on board and monopolized that sector.
You are so particular about
yes, because you know, cement is a common commodity. It's a commodity that indeed everybody must, just like petroleum. I mean, we can't. Nigerian government should not. Whatever. But like Paul mentioned something that he has a stooge in the villa. Please, this I don't know. Just that the corruption in this country has made it impossible for the voice of the masses to prevail. Otherwise, this shouldn't even be a conversation. That somebody is planning that. Now, when Senator Ifeanyi was alive, I accompanied him to visit almost all the refineries in this country, government-owned refinery. And at the end of the day, you see that nothing in particular is wrong with those refineries, just clear sabotage. People don't want the refineries to work because of their own selfish reasons. And when he wanted, in fact, he put up a report. Unfortunately, that report didn't come up before he unfortunately died. There was nothing wrong with Nigerian refineries, yet those refineries are not working. Now, one man wants only his own to be working. That of government should not work. Private individuals should not be allowed to, as Prof is alleging,
Prince,
to establish their own refineries, both modular and
let's establish
it doesn't make sense.
Before you go on. But these refineries were not working for a very long time, so many years before Dangote just built his refinery.
Certainly.
And one of the things he's even saying is that there are people trying to sabotage his refinery just the way they did to that of the government.
The corruption is compartmentalized in Nigeria. The corruption is all over. There are people who don't want government refineries to work because of their own selfish reasons. Certainly, Dangote being involved in oil business now should know them. Like I told you, Ifeanyi went around Nigerian refineries and discovered that this is a clear case of sabotage, that some people somewhere do not want. I am not saying that it was Alhaji Dangote that doesn't want Nigerian refineries to work. I am not saying that. But there are people who do not want those refineries to work. Now, on his own side, as we are seeing gradually, what does it actually mean that people should not have licenses to operate refineries in Nigeria?
That has not been proven. That's an allegation.
A professor, let me tell you, to be a professor in Nigeria is not, you can't just wake up and become one. So for him to be saying that, I'm certain he has certain level of information. All right, and he cannot be, and he said if anybody who feels otherwise should sue him. So I'm certain he knows what he's saying. Nigeria should not go that route. That is what I'm begging both Alhaji Dangote and the Nigerian state.
All right, Nigerians shouldn't go that route. As a matter of fact, we are going on a quick break. When we return from this break, we will look at part of the interview that he granted to the media and some of the things that he said. From there, the conversation will continue. It is an issue, and when it's an issue, it's actually an issue. We will be back after this break.
Where somebody will now come. I mean, today, from where he comes from, Sokoto, people are struggling to pay 100,000 naira for school fees of secondary school. And a lot of children are at home, not going to school because of 100,000 naira. Tony, can you pay this fees?
Why, Tony?
No, I'm asking now. Can you?
I can't.
Okay, so if you cannot afford, I cannot understand why somebody who has worked all his life in government and he has 4 children that he has paid $5 million. I've seen that people have taken this post and nobody is listening to them. So we will actually join them to make sure that this is done properly. The man must come and explain to Nigerians how he paid $5 million for 6 years of his 4 children's education. And I don't think if any one of you has actually paid that kind of fees for your own, children. So we can't allow this to continue, because we must make sure that people don't come and destroy a country just because they want to make a living that is not genuine or that is not, legal. Because, I mean, for somebody to have this sort of money, he must be supported by people. He should come out and tell people how did he make $5 million to educate his children in Switzerland with a cost of $5 million. And when these questions are answered before we go to the to the court, he should come out and reply. This is what we have seen, and I think we must make sure that this system, this what do you call it, this downstream must not be destroyed by one single person because of personal interest.
All right, as a matter of fact, we all heard that. Well, the issue of monopoly, he also talked about monopoly in that video. And of course, if you watch the whole press briefing, he said, who is talking of monopoly? Monopolizing what? That he is opening it up for Nigerians, like we were talking about it. He said, even if Nigerians would want to own 55% shares of the refinery, that he's open, that he wants this refinery to be owned by Nigerians and not just Dangote, that it's not all about him, that he wants to leave a legacy, all right, in this country. So, and he was saying it's not all about monopoly, that anybody that is talking about monopoly is not saying the right thing, that he is not trying to monopolize the industry. And he even talked about the fact that he gets his crude from some African countries, including the United States of America. That, in fact, about 1 million barrels, all right, is imported from the United States alone. And after this expansion, after the second phase, it might even extend to 2 million barrels. So what do you think about that? Talking about sharing, selling shares to Nigerians so that Nigerians can own it, so that Nigerians in return can actually know that this is our own and we shouldn't allow people to sabotage the system.
No, certainly, a company, an establishment of that magnitude, people are allowed to own shares in it. The banks, for instance, and other big investments in Nigeria, people have shares there, but that does not really, that will not stop the owner or the major shareholder not to be navigating it as he wants. Nigerians, myself included, people have done a lot to us that we find it very difficult to trust all these big guys. Like him, who is talking of, he doesn't want to monopolize anything. When we have seen how he monopolized cement, I keep on hammering on, even sugar and some other commodities, So, like I said, the fight he is putting up against Farouk, I don't have a problem with that. Because if it is real indeed that the man has his children schooling in schools that he cannot afford ordinarily, then there's a question of
$5 million.
$5 million, that is billions of naira, just to educate your children, only in their education. Nobody is talking about secondary school, and nobody is talking about other aspects of his life, So it is not matching up. But it's not only him. This is the basic characteristic of most Nigerian public servants.
But do you think this situation is going to expose other persons?
It is not as if that Nigerians do not know. It is not as if we do not know. Okay, for instance, the man I told you that forged certificate that resigned, who is talking about him again? Are we not supposed to charge him for forgery and perjury? But nobody is talking about it. So it's not about just resigning. It is an act of honor that they resign, like Prof said. I was actually surprised to see that they are now resigning. Fantastic. Right. But they shouldn't stop there.
Well, rounding up, Prof. What would you have to say? Selling shares. You heard what he talked about, and Farouk having the right to defend himself. He should come out and do a disclaimer or something.
Well, if you say shares, what shares? Because this is somebody who said he has, in the first phase, he has sold 20% of the shares to NNPCL and came back and told us that the shares is now 7.2%. How did you trust such person? How did you trust somebody who monopolized the stock market for a long time to pocket some trillions into his pocket? He fooled everybody in the stock market that stock were rising and everybody was going to buy stock and crash it overnight, and nobody has asked him to account for it up to today.
Okay, do you think it's late for Farouk to have replied or say something? There was a reply which he withdrawn and said no, he wasn't the one that made that reply. Do you think it's late? He's supposed to have replied instead of resigning. He didn't say anything, he just resigned.
You know, sometimes we say silent is key. Silent is key, but there is a way you draw somebody to the wall and the person will say, no, I'm no longer going to be silent.
So why resigning?
He resigned because he wants to give room for anybody who wants to indict him to come up with their indictment, their rules of indictment. Then he can engage them legally.
They said, Dangote said he should submit himself to ICPC. What do you make of that?
Dangote himself should submit himself to NFIU and to EFCC.
All right.
It's simple as that. You pledge people, forge documents in the stock market, make trillions.
This sounds like an allegation. You have proof to all of this?
Let him come and say, I am accusing him. He should come. Then I will start doing what we call forensic analysis, forensic investigation, forensic auditing from the day he was born till today.
All right. Well, I don't know. I wish we could have more time, but our time is already up. Viewers, we can't go further. I know it's very interesting right there. Somebody don't want us to go, but then can we turn back the hands of time? No, we can't. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us on the conversation here today.
Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you very much, Prince Ezemo, for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Good evening, Nigerians.
All right, well, this is going to be the size of the conversation today. There is no more time for us to continue. But Prof said, if you said Farouk should submit himself to ICPC, you also need to submit yourself for investigation too. And of course, well, this is allegation upon allegation. You are forging a lot of forgery cases against you. And of course, you want to monopolize, according to Prince, well, so many things. It's like Dangote have so many other persons who are not in support of the move he has made. But then, I think, well, we still have the justice system to do what it's supposed to be done. ICPC, EFCC, all the anti-graft agencies that feel they can go into this, they should go into that. Well, the case will soon be unfolded. This is the size of the conversation. My name is Ramsey Enokagbo. Bye-bye for now.